Alright, welcome back to Adobe Photoshop CC. In this tutorial we're going to go over on how to create a screen print from this zombie here. So this is my series, The Epic Zombie. I've been doing these for a little while now. This is sort of the businessman zombie here. And I wanted to show you the layer system. Basically I have all the values separated out on this layer, which basically has been painted with a soft fuzzy brush. The rest of the image is painted on this layer and it's pretty much all black. So if you look at and we zoom in on the lines, they're even though we're zooming in quite a bit, they're all pretty much really sharp. There's no transfer at all. So let me demonstrate what I mean here. I'm just going to add a new layer here and switch to the paintbrush, and I'll right click, choose this chalky brush here, and I'll increase the size a little bit. So if I hit D for the default black and white and then switch back to normal, you basically want 100% opacity when painting. So as you're painting, you want pure black like that. So if you go into your brush settings and you have shape dynamics set to pin pressure, that's fine. The part that you don't want is transfer. You don't want this set to pin pressure, because even though I don't have a stylus set up here, it would be like basically painting with low opacity based on your pin pressure, and you would get all this junk here. This does not translate well for screen printing. Basically, when we print out transparency, we want black and white. The only time you want gray is if you're going to do what's called halftones, and that's what I'm going to do for the tonality areas. But basically, your line work you want to be pure black. So just make sure in the brush engine settings you don't have transfer on. You just have shape dynamics set to pin pressure. That way you'll get pure black all the time, and it will look like this basically, depending on your line quality. I mean, obviously, again, I don't have a stylus, but you can go thick to thin basically. All right, so I'm going to turn this layer off. So basically what we're going to do here is, if we were going to print this as a screen, this would be fine. It's a straight black and white. There would be no problem whatsoever. If we go to image size under image category here, you'll see the dimensions are 13 by 19 by 300, which is fine. So we have enough resolution there, and this would print just absolutely perfect. However, if I want these tone to be in there too, I have to convert this to what's called halftone screen. Now this isn't the only way to do it, but I'm going to show you basically this one way to do it. Okay, so we're going to do it two different ways. So I'm going to go File, New, and I'm going to switch this to inches just so it's easier to see. 13 by 19 by 300 is the same that we have here. I'm going to switch this to RGB color mode and click OK. The next document, I'm going to go File, New, is essentially the same, inches, 13 by 19. We want RGB color mode, but this time we're going to go 600 for resolution. I'm going to do this because it's basically doubling the resolution. I'm going to show you the difference in this tutorial. So we have 300 for the Untitled 1 and 600 for Untitled 2. Alright, so what I'm going to do is basically duplicate this layer and send it over to those two documents. So I can do that just by right clicking, duplicate layer, and send it over basically. So I'm going to choose Untitled 1, click OK, right click, duplicate layer, switch to Untitled 2 by choosing the document type here, click OK. So now we'll see those in Untitled 1 and Untitled 2. Now Untitled 1 is clearly centered here, Untitled 2 is way over here in the corner. What happened here? Well, you got to realize this is double the resolution. So let's free transform this layer by hitting Control T or Command T on the Mac and basically scale it up to the entire document. Now, it might not fit exactly, but it should fit pretty close when hit return. We may have to adjust it slightly when we bring it back, but basically these are the two documents here. It looks like it's a little bit higher up, so if we nudge this down a little bit, we may have to do that in the original document, but they're pretty close. All right, so to convert these to halftones, we have to do a couple of steps. The first step is to go to Image Mode and choose Grayscale, and then Flatten, choose Flatten, okay? And then hit Discard. That'll discard all the color information and any other layers. I'm going to do that to this Untitled 2. I'm selecting it, go to Image Mode, and again, Grayscale. Again, Flatten, and then again, Discard. Okay, now I'm going to go back to Untitled 1. The next step is the halftone process. So I'm going to go to Image Mode and choose Bitmap here. This was grayed out before because it has to be grayscale in order to access this. So by default on this one it's set to 300 pixels per square inch is which way I want. It might be set to some other thing. It might be set to diffusion dither, depending on who uses last. So make sure you set this to halftone screen for the method and then click OK. You'll get this little pop-up window. Now people can play around with these settings here. 60 and 60 tends to work pretty well for me for this image. Basically lower the number here, it'll adjust the angle, and then on the frequency it'll basically adjust how many dots per square inch kind of deal. So and I'm choosing the round option. There are some other options here. Round is really good for halftones. Click OK, and now if I zoom in on here you'll see the halftones and what it looks like. Now the circles aren't perfectly circular, but you know, they're okay. They're kind of rigid, but they give you that feeling of the halftone quality. Now let's go to this one. So we're going to do that same process, image mode bitmap. This time we're going to 600 for the output. So that's the big difference here. Halftone screen again, so choose halftone. Click OK, and then here choose 60/60 and round, and then click OK. And you'll notice the difference. As I zoom in here, we got more circles basically, pure circles. This is going to be a cleaner halftone basically. So what we're going to do is duplicate these and bring them back to the original document here. I'm actually going to turn off the original tone here so that when we bring it in you'll be able to see it right away. So you can't right click and duplicate layer. You'll see it's grayed out here. So what you have to do is hit Control A to select all, or Command A on a Mac, and then Control C to copy, or Command C on a Mac, and then tab over, and then what's that hotkey? Control V or Command V on the Mac to paste. Now what you'll see is basically the white has covered up everything. It's a simple fix though. Basically just changing the blend mode from normal to multiply, because multiply will get rid of any white, and now we can see the halftone with the black. So if you print this transparency as this right now, it would work okay. Now it looks like some of my lines are a little bit fuzzy up there. Perhaps I had a little issue there. We could use a sharpen filter to apply that to the line. I'm just noticing a couple areas. I'll show you that in the next tutorial. But this looks pretty good overall. Again, the halftones aren't perfect circles, but they will work. So let's go ahead and bring in the other one. I'm going to turn this one off, and then we'll compare. So again, select all. I can't duplicate by right click on the layer, so I'm going to have to hit Control A to select all, Command A on a Mac, Control C, which would be Command C on a Mac, and then switch over, and then Control V or Command V on a Mac, and voila, now I get this image. Now it's way big. That's an issue here. So what we can do is hit Control T or Command T on the Mac, and basically to go into free transform mode, hold Shift and drag a corner and drag up till you get to a line there, and then you can hit Control plus or minus to zoom in and out basically. So in order to see this properly, I'm going to hit return or enter, and basically change the blend mode to multiply. Now it looks like it's a little off. I can see up here. So what I'm going to do is simply move it downwards. So I'm just holding the shift key with the arrows to kind of nudge down a couple of times. And this is what I'm talking about. You may have to adjust it slightly. But this looks okay. It looks like it could come over to the left a little bit. So again, I have the move tool selected, which is the top tool. V is the hotkey. So I hit shift a couple of times, I can kind of adjust, and then I can just kind of arrow a couple of times to nudge it back and forth to kind of align it. Looking through here, let's see. This looks pretty good. I mean, I would say it's pretty close. It may be slightly off, but you can see clearly we've got nice clean circles all throughout. So this halftone would work really well. Now let's compare the two. So we'll switch that one on and that one off. And you can see they're actually very close in terms of the look of them. You know, except that one definitely has sharper circles, this one here. Now what I can do is if I want this to be purely black and just add a little more density, I can right click and duplicate this layer, click OK, and then I'll just beef up the black a little bit, apply a little bit of fill in certain areas. Some of the closest circles will kind of snap into place. Real quick, instead of creating a new tutorial, I'm just going to show you how to correct that fuzziness. If you do have fuzzy quality, like I have a little bit of fuzziness in the line here, I think it's actually probably pretty sharp. But let's go ahead and duplicate this layer just by right click, duplicate layer, click OK. and I'm going to turn off the bottom one. I always recommend doing this. Have an original to play with, or the original to keep, basically. I'm going to go to the filter menu and go down to, let's see, where is it here? Blur, or I'm sorry, no, sharpen, and just choose the sharpen command here, basically. And immediately I get a little crisper lines. I mean, that actually did quite a bit. If I actually just turn on and off that option there, I mean, it's pretty clear that that one is just a little bit sharper than that one. And that's all you really need. It's still going to basically maintain the quality of the original. I don't believe the image has really distorted it or anything, but just applying a little sharpen filter has helped out a lot. So I would use the sharpen filter with this, with that halftone. So I can turn on either the 300 or the 600. I actually think I like the 600 for resolution. So that's the basic introduction to a halftone. Have fun making your own shirts. Basically, you can print this out on transparency and you're good to go. All right, see you soon in Adobe Photoshop CC. Cheers.